It's engineered for perfection. Every contour sculpted for uninterrupted motion. Wider, smoother, more refined, and drives like a dream. Introducing the 2026 E470. Experience the difference.
It's not about compression ratios, and spring rate rebounds and things like that. It's what experiences do they unlock? What emotions do they conjure?
John Chuldenko is one of those automotive journalists that, and I'll just say it, I want to be more like. He's seemingly done it all, and we cover a lot of ground in this one. From what it was like producing a car show for kids, to secret enthusiast dog whistles and Porsche owner's manuals, to a run-in with a Hollywood diva, and the secret collection of LP records in the attic of the White House. Yes, he writes about cars, but the story is often, as it should be, about everything else. When people ask who needs another car podcast, it's for conversations like this one. With our pal John Chuldenko, it's That Car Show.
Welcome back to this week's episode of That Car Show. I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with Ryan, and we have a guest that I'm really excited to share with everybody. My friend John Chuldenko is with us this week. John and I met originally through Instagram, and then we got to meet in real life at the Griffith Park Cars and Coffee, which is kind of a little, like, if you know, you know, hidden secret, even though it's an amazing show. So we met there. And then I actually got to see he and his amazing wife, Mira, at the Slate launch, which was about almost exactly a year ago. And yeah, it's hard. Time flies when you're having fun, right, kids? So I'm really excited to have him join us on the show this week. He's got some amazing stories, and I'm excited to share them with our listeners. A little background on John. He has been thinking up big ideas and bringing them to life for decades. He grew up in advertising, and he learned to write by poring over stacks of car brochures he collected at the auto show every year. He is currently the senior editor at Dossier, a luxury travel, lifestyle, and culture publication, and he also contributes to Porsche Panorama, Christophorus, Craft & Tailored, R&T Crew, and many more outlets that we've heard of. He created Backseat Drivers, which was the first car show for kids, which I love that. He produced the indie cult classic Dave Made a Maze, which is quite possibly the only film shot inside a cardboard fort. Safe to say John is a multi-hyphenate. He is a 2-time Emmy nominee, a Clio winner, and a Sundance, Tribeca, and South by Southwest alum. And probably one of the things I'm most interested in hearing more about in depth is he has been featured on NPR because he uncovered the secret vinyl collection at the White House and then wrote about it to share it with the rest of us. John serves on the DGA PAC Leadership Council and also on the Board of Counselors at the Carter Center. You'll likely find him at a record store in LA, driving through the Malibu Canyons, or spending time with his wife and 2 daughters, who are mildly impressed that he's also directed The Muppets. So welcome to That Car Show, John.
Oh my goodness, what an intro.
I know.
I was like, woo, this is your life.
You're like, this guy sounds kind of interesting. Let's hear what he has
That's
to
a
say.
good one.
I want to know that guy.
I know. I'm like, not to start out not on cars, but the Muppets. Like, what was that
Oh my
like?
goodness. Yeah. So they brought me out to New York, and it was like a little thing when I think when ABC had just gotten the rights or something like that. It was a while ago. And so they wanted to do like a little kind of short film thing to promote it. And it was Miss Piggy, it was Animal, and Victor Garber, like the Broadway actor who was in
Yes.
Alias, like
Alias and
real,
Titanic
like
and-
classically like real actor, right?
Right.
So I had written a couple like little skits, for Victor Garber to do with Miss Piggy and stuff, and she would do her like hi yeah, and her like karate chop
Classic.
and stuff like that, and Victor Garber would go that, it was funny. I remember like. It's like I've got a whole day to do this shoot. Like I've got like a full 10-hour day, right? But those puppet people, they work fast. They like to work fast. And I guess if I like stood around all day with my arm like up in the air, I'd probably want to move this, move this shoot along too. But I'm I'm not editing it, so I'm just getting cover. I'm just shooting every angle, so whoever can edit it can do it however they want, right?
Right.
And Miss Piggy turns to me and she goes, this is comedy, people. We have to move much faster than that. And so
Did I
I'm
just get a
asking
note
myself,
from a Muppet?
yeah, but I don't know who to respond to.
Oh.
Do I? And so, like, I guess I talked to Miss
I
Piggy.
feel
in
like
this
the
situation.
respectful approach
Yeah.
is to speak directly
Yeah.
to Miss Piggy.
I
obviously.
think so. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, she should be a diva. She's earned it.
That's her thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally. Oftentimes I feel like, Kermit, he was just trying to hold it together. Man. He's just like the producer, and he's like literally this like zoo full of like wild characters.
That's
He's just like,
amazing.
oh my
Literal
God,
zoo.
people, like,
Yeah.
it's just like, gotta keep this together, man.
And then he
what was
goes
that
home
like
with
as
Miss
someone
Piggy.
who grew up with that stuff? I mean, I'm sure grew up watching Sesame Street and the
Oh,
Muppets, and that was
100%.
like a big deal. Sunday nights, I think it was on CBS, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just-
Oh
is
my
that
gosh.
surreal?
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
that was my Muppet impression for those just listening.
I knew it immediately. It was spot on.
Yeah, I mean, like absolutely, like meeting your heroes. It's that both properties. It's a national treasure. Like it's one of those things that are so deeply ingrained and something that everybody's got. I mean, nobody's like, I'm not a big Sesame Street fan. Like everybody's like a beloved, And so so properties like that, like the Muppets, it holds a special place and it's certainly my heart and even like my kid, it's fun to see like sort of that how that translates through generations and all that and
Well, when you
Yeah,
look at
it's
how
really
long
special.
they've been around, I mean, to have that kind of staying power, it's like when you talk about bands that have been successful for decades, like that doesn't happen. It's not a guarantee.
no
I mean, I grew up on the Muppet movies. I think we all did in some fashion. And I've started introducing those to my daughter. And it's so funny when we were talking before we started about the things that when you have children and then the things that reminds you of from your own childhood. And it's so fun to go back and watch the Muppet movies and remember, I mean, that was just magic as a kid.
Absolutely. I like my sister and I will quote Muppets Take Manhattan like all the time. Like I'm Bill and this is Phil and this is Gil.
Yeah.
Like there was when we got married, like the recessional walking back up the aisle was somebody's getting married from Muppets Take Manhattan.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't think the sheet music is anywhere, so we had like a little like string section that was playing live, and I think we had to sort of figure out how to play it. Like they had to,
That's amazing.
You have handwritten music for him. You're like, just go with
like
it.
something like
Yeah.
that.
You guys know the
That-
song. It's fine.
That's really held up well. I tried to introduce my daughter to the 3-2-1 contact. That's not held up quite the same. She's like,
No.
what is this shit? The
Yeah.
computer, the Apple
Yeah.
IIc that
Right.
we were talking
Oh,
about
totally.
before we,
Yeah.
But
That's
Yeah.
the one with the water droplet in the intro,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like,
That
Right.
song was a
3, 2, 1,
jam.
Oh my gosh.
contact
Yeah.
is the reason.
they show the recording.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
good times.
That's so cool. So you've had such a diverse career. I mean, where did
I know. How did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us the full
Yeah, it's
career
wild,
path.
man. And it was weird. Like when when you had called and asked, I was like, oh wait, like how? At one point, yes, it's a weird, bonkers, crazy like detour of a life, that's really, really strange. And on the other hand, like I step back and be like, oh, I've seen it all along. Like my sister told me the other day, she's like, how did you land this job that like 6-year-old you would be totally proud of? And it's kind of true. Like, hey, like we get to like go, rip supercars around every now and then. It's like it's pretty awesome, and then give them
Right.
back before you have to buy brakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
which is
Well, and I feel like I'm seeing that a lot in like my family's life, but also in friends where you go, like, if you look back, the threads were there the whole time. And it was just the next right step and all of that, but you didn't know it in the moment necessarily. So like, how did you get into automotive journalism and where you are and doing all the amazing things you've done?
Yeah, it's like it's like you mentioned before, like I honestly learned to write from reading car brochures. Like back in the day, to those younger listeners, before things were online, like you'd go to the auto show and they would give you like usually a sponsor would have like a tote bag, like a plastic tote bag, and you'd walk around to the booths and they would just have like
They'd have literature.
like 8x10 like brochures, like beautifully photographed and like airbrushed, like retouching because before Photoshop, right? And I would just collect all of the ones that I thought were cool, the new like Celica Supra or whatever was going on. I would bring them home, and I remember sitting on my bed just reading every single word. Just like reading the right, because the language was so beautifully floral. Like there was just such like wonderful adjectives, and the way they'd crafted, like people cared. Like you look at those old ads, like those old DDB ads from Volkswagen. It was like image and then like 3 columns of like body copy, right?
Text,
And
right.
text, and people were expected to read, And I was looking. I had bought a 924, 1982 Porsche 924, and I was looking through the owners. We came with the owner's manual. I was looking at the owner's manual, and the first paragraph there, which is actually also lifted in my 993 owner's manual too. It's like, I don't remember exactly, but it's like, judging from the car you just purchased, you're clearly like not a novice driver and you know what you're doing. And like, I'm like, man, like they should get like our friends to write like intros to owner's manuals, like just write them really beautifully, you know, because now they have to tell you, you know, don't drink the antifreeze, you know, but back then it was like real, right? I think I read that somewhere.
Different times, for
different
sure.
times.
That's where we are in
different times.
2026.
So that's how I learned to write. And I think that language sort of led me into a career in advertising. So I would, you know, through design and then through directing commercials and things like that. And then we would, I was a partner in an agency that did a lot of toy commercials. So I speaking of like retro stuff, like our agency made a large percentage of the toy commercials in the 90s. So like the Tonka bubble fire truck, like all like those bubble toys. And then like the Nerf, all those like Nerf like ring guns that would shoot.
Sure.
And those were all shot in a very specific way. And we shot those in Vancouver a lot, sometimes in Los Angeles. And one day, like we were on a shoot, we had built some like custom vehicles back when they had like money for commercials, some custom vehicle. And we were like driving it down like Venice Beach or something. And it's like, I like it here. And I grew up in a little adorable little town called Chagrin Falls, Ohio, which is like a beautiful little Norman Rockwell town.
Yeah.
Well, I love the name because it's so like
it's great.
It's such a contrast of like chagrin, but like no, it's lovely.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm there and I think it was like wintertime back home, and I'm like, I kind of like it here. And so I asked one of the producers, I'm like, what's it like, how do we get an apartment? How do I stay? And that just started the ball rolling, and I ended up like finding a little apartment and like building my little life here. And then like stayed in commercials and stuff, and that led into like film and television for a little bit. And then that led to, I've always been a car fan, like that's always stuck with me, right? Made friends with a guy in children's television. I'm like, I've always wanted to do a car show for kids, like almost like Top Gear for 10-year-olds. Like, is there a way to do it? And he had just gotten a job as like a programming executive for like a little kid streamer platform. And he's like, let's go do it. And so I called in a bunch of favors. Former guest, my first call was former guest Derek Powell, because Derek knows everybody and is the nicest human being ever.
Of course. No question.
You really have a greatest hits of like nice people on your podcast,
right?
I mean, it's really stellar. I mean, like Bassem, Lynn, like everybody who's just so near and dear.
All the favorites.
Well,
totally. We've
Lucky.
been very lucky to, you know, have everybody be so generous with their time, including you. I mean, it's just like,
my goodness.
You know, every now and then it's like, I'll step back and be like, the fact that I'm like friends with all these people now is just, if you had told me even like 6 years ago, it's just amazing. I love it so much.
It totally is. So we make Backseat Drivers, and it was so fun coming up with these episodes. It's like, all right, what if we get an Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio and turn it into like a pizza delivery car? So I got like, we call her stunt driver Sarah Fairfield, who's a precision driver.
Oh, yeah.
And totally. Yeah. And so I've got our 3 like kid hosts in the car, and she's like whipping it around Irwindale, and they're throwing like frozen pizzas out the windows, trying to like land them into like those toy like Little Tikes playhouses. Like it's just bonker. It was just like,
amazing.
you know, it's like have another sip of reposado and try to think of these crazy ideas, right?
Well, you know that those child actors look back and they're like, that was still my favorite job ever.
I know, right? It was
it
was just like low enough stakes that like nobody was like the grown-ups weren't around, so I could really do whatever I wanted, you know. And it was so we did
They're
that.
like,
We did an
this is
episode.
safe. Sure.
Yeah, sure. It's like we're good. We got a guy with a fire. It's fine. And then we did. It was back when like the Model X had like Tesla had like a self parking, and I wanted to find out. Well, okay, could it really do it? And like, who's a better parker, the Tesla on autopilot or like an 8-year-old girl? And so we had the Tesla do it by itself, and then the 8-year-old girl was in a Fiat 500. With Sarah in the passenger seat, like on the e-brake, just in case something went nuts.
Yeah.
But like she could totally do it. And I remember like the actor, you know, she like her dad was, you know, the parents have to be on set. Her dad's like, man, I thought I'd be the one to teach her to drive, but turns out she does it on camera, you know. And we did like
as far as trade-offs go, if it wasn't going to be me, I'm fine with this being the story.
Right. We did like a grocery store, like a grocery shopping cart slalom. So like shopping carts put like in a parking lot and ripped a Cayenne E hybrid. Sort of through there, and they had to like load groceries and then do it backwards, and it was just like it was just fun. It was like super fun, like Top Gear style ideas, but with that kid energy, right? Which adds like a certain kind of spontaneity to it, I think. Which was super fun and
makes it engaging for the kids too, and gets them interesting in a topic that isn't usually covered in a lot of children's programming.
100%. And I've always, and yes. And to, you know, on the other hand, like when I think about what we do in our industry and our passion for cars and this and everything, like if we don't get kids into this, like it goes away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to stoke
Yeah.
to stoke those fires, you know, in the next generation, right? That was, you know, certainly part of the idea. And then COVID hit. So like we had finished shooting and like everything locked down at like while we were in post-production, right? And industry dries up. And what I realized was that when things started to open up again, like it's like filming was horrible because like I realized what I loved about it is like it feels like summer camp. Like everybody gets together and like, oh, you're building the sets and the actors are here, we're rehearsing, and then somebody's doing the thing, and it's like it's all together and it's
And all the
beautiful. And it's a
energy,
wonderful, wonderful energy. Well, with all the restrictions, it was like, oh no, like the set people build this thing here, then everybody goes away. And then the dressing people come here and then everybody goes away. And then camera blocks it. And then like the actors, and everybody was so separated. It was no fun anymore. Because what I loved was the nonverbal communication. I loved like looking over at my director of photography and be like, "It's over here." And like, he's like, oh yeah, totally. But when everybody's masked, like you don't know, right? So it was really, it was just no fun. And I was like, well, you know, maybe it's time for a pivot. And at exactly the same time, I was in the kindergarten class for my daughter, and one of the dads had bought I had gotten this Ocean Blue Metallic 993, right? I thought I spent all the money in the world on it. I was clearly wrong back in like 2019, 2020.
Right.
So like, I don't know what happened there. But he had just gotten, he purchased it online 991.2 911 in like Boston or something. So he was flying out to get that. Turns out it's in like night blue, like a very similar color. And then another dad from school orders 992 in gentian blue metallic. So all sort of three similar shades, and his must have been like the last one before they shut down because he actually got it delivered.
Oh, fun.
So they all
Like,
get delivered.
did we just become best friends, all three of us?
Well, it was exactly what hold that. Yes, hold that thought. And so I'm like, oh, maybe there'd be like a cool like story here, or like maybe there'd be a cool photograph here, right? You know?
Yeah.
So so I call a friend and I'm like, hey, let's just go and let's go shoot pictures of our cars, and it'll be like to commemorate the occasion or whatever. And I send the photos to Rob Sass, who is the editor in chief at Porsche Panorama, the PCA magazine.
Yeah, I love Rob.
And oh my gosh. And he's like, why don't you write the story? And I'm like, what do you mean? So, I had his email. I knew Rob just because I used a copy of the magazine in the show in Backseat Driver as a prop.
Oh, cool.
In the title sequence. So that's the only reason I knew him. Like I was just like, hey man, can I use your magazine? He's like, heck yeah, no problem. Like done. So I called. He said, why don't you write the story? I'm like, really? Like I've never done that before. And so I'm like, all right, let's try it. And so I did it, and like but a couple thousand words or whatever it was, but it wasn't about the Porsches. It was about the friendship. It's exactly what you said, Lindsay. It was about like how during a time when everything is so dark and everything is so locked down, like these machines, these like these cars can be a safe way to, because everybody's sealed in their little car. And then we were like ripping up through the Malibu Canyons and through like Angeles Crest and stuff, and how that could really foster a sense of connection, and like we really like we had known each other before, but now we're friends, and so that's what the story was about. And turns out people really liked it. And so what that is, so that's like 2020, what that has kind of turned into is like, that's what I write about. I like to say, like, I write about cars for people who don't necessarily like cars, so they're like outlets that are not necessarily car outlets. And it's like, to me, it's not about compression ratios, and spring rate rebounds and things like that. It's like, it's what experiences do they unlock? What emotions do they conjure? Like, why do we really have these things, and how do and the community involved and like all those kind of stories. So it's been wild. Like it's kind of like a specific niche, I guess. But the people that I meet and the stories that I unpack through those have been fascinating. Like and he published my first story. So like when he calls for that, I'm like, yes, I'll do whatever. And he's called with these stories that like, at first I'm like, wow, it takes me a beat that I'm like, oh, I know why you called me. Like there's really been like things that are really moving. Like he called me once. He's like, would you talk to this guy? He's in Palm Springs, and it's Easter Sunday, and he's driving his 356, and driving through this beautiful road sort of near. I think he lived in Palm Springs, but he was in San Diego, and gets in a car accident, like horrible car accident. Fiance dies. He is gravely like not gonna like maybe not gonna make it. Coma, ventilator, all this kind of stuff. Wakes up. He's still in horrible shape. And he was featured in like Petrolicious and stuff. He was like a car guy, right?
Oh, wow.
He wakes up and starts his recovery process, right? And months and months go by. He's like, I'm going to teach myself to drive again. Through his dad helped to inspire him. He's like, I'm going to teach myself to drive again, right? And goes through the whole process. This guy used to be able to like, really discern, shifter feel and pedal fit.
Right.
And now he's got to learn how to use a turn signal, because like the whole
Completely
side of his
starting
butt,
from
right?
scratch. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I thought was interesting, so he does that. He does the whole process. He works his way back, and he gets, enough mobility in his body to get his license and get another car. So he finds a slate gray, I think, 964 in Tiptronic. Now, how many times have you talked with your friends and be like, oh man, I saw this car in auction. It's like, oh, it's an auto.
Right.
For that guy, an automatic, that Tiptronic is the key to him being able to enjoy what we enjoy.
Sure.
Right.
So there's stories like that I'm like, yes, like that to me is like something like that we normally just disregard as like a Tiptronic 964. No, like for him, that's everything, and for me, like when I hear those stories, when I unlock those stories, when I talk to these people, I'm like, yes, like that's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
The inclusion of everything, the community of everything, like how these cars can really make our lives better, and that's kind of like a cliche thing to say, but like when I think about it, like it's unlocked friendships for me. It has nothing to do with this like hunk of like metal and rubber and glass.
Like that's the door opener. I mean, it's like with these dads from school, like and I don't like this term because it has so much, people go like, oh God, but that's the icebreaker of like, it's the conversation starter. And I think Bassam sums it up, and I quote him all the time where he says, yeah, cars shortcut all of the small talk and you just jump into a friendship. And I'm like, it's the most concise description, because I'll have like female friends will say to me like, I don't get it. I don't connect with cars, but like, if you're this excited about it, there's something here, but like, how do you describe it? And it's what you've been saying with kind of the focus of your stories. It's the people. And we talk about that all the time here too.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because like, Dossier, my magazine we're headquartered in Paris and New York. So not driving cities, right? So when I talk to people, right? When I talk to people, like these are not car people, like, whereas in Southern California, like everybody's got a car. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
And what's kind of fun is like to frame my mentality, to see it through that lens. And it's like, well, okay, but like, what do you have? Like, they have the same materials and workmanship as your favorite handbag, the same like design elements are in a hotel room, architectural, all those elements are there. Plus they move, and each one moves a little bit differently, and like, so there's an extra element of like, kind of like, oh, like once you can unpack that thing, that side to it too. It's just, it's fascinating, but well, it's like, been,
like Jay Leno is the one, he says like they're works of art. And if you want them to, they can roll down the road.
That's great. Yeah, totally. So it's fun to go. I mean, and because people do, people can talk about performance characters. Like there are people that we all know who are so good at that, right? So like
encyclopedic,
like awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, totally, and like really can discern that those qualities and those kind of things. So yeah, I've sort of gravitated towards the stories and experiences or connecting a car with a destination, or a car with a specific trip and why they're connected and like how this car can add to this experience for you, and that kind of stuff is really important to me, which is fun to be on the same, because I get to see it illustrated when I'm on the same trip with a more traditional auto journalist, right?
Oh,
and they, they'll take one route and I'll take another route, from a narrative point of view. I remember
and it's the same, like you said, it's the same
car,
trip,
same route,
but
same drive,
story.
But completely different story. Like I remember we were maybe about a year ago, with Lamborghini from Bologna to Florence, like a beautiful drive from Bologna to Florence, like up over the mountains and through the lakes and everything like that. Gorgeous. And we stopped for like a planned like little coffee stop, and we walk into this place. It's like a little tiny cafe. It's called Passo della Futa or something like that. It's like right up at the top. And I just happened to I just got a vibe from like this guy that was working there. And it turns out I just sort of, I don't know, like something just like sort of clicked. And I'm like, oh, who is this guy? And I introduced myself. He's the owner of the place. His family's owned it for 6 generations. Oh. And like you start talking to somebody, you start asking questions, and you're like, hey, like what's your story, man? You're just gonna connect with like human to human. He's like, come on back. And he like brings me back to the kitchen with this like stone like fire hearth that he still cooks on, that his great grandparents cooked on, and he's like, come, like let me show you this like mantle with my family pictures on it. And like the I want to say it was like a little, like a cross or a rosary that was on there. And he shows me a picture of him like being held as a baby, and the cross is in the same place. Like everything is like hasn't been touched, right? And like to me, that was my story. You know, that's it. Like, you know, like we're on this drive, and those are the people that you meet, and those are the things that get unlocked, you know?
Yeah. I love that stuff so much. I mean, that's what makes it so rich. And it's like, you know, you never know when you're going to run across something like that. It's always worth saying hi to people.
Yes.
Because I mean, that's amazing. I mean, the amount of history in that hearth or the stone oven or whatever, like
6 generations, you know, it's like, who owns a place like, you know, that keeps it running? And it's like, it snows in the wintertime. He's up at it's on like the Mila Mila route, I think it is. And so like, it's snow. Like, it's like, but like people get, and so he's telling me these stories about like all these test drivers that he'd see just like ripping it up there in like the 70s and 80s, you know, like when he was a little kid, he's got, it's just incredible. Right. And to me, like, that's the story. And honestly, I believe from a manufacturer point of view, from a brand point of view, that's what people really want. You know, that's what's interesting, because it's like, oh, maybe I could get that vehicle and maybe I could have that same experience or a similar experience. Or where would I take it? You know, if I got it, what would I do with it? Who could I meet? And that's where value comes in. And that's what, you know, and you know, living in, you know, or working in this luxury space, like that's the value. It's meaning and it's connection. Like that's the truth. It's not about the thing. It's never about the thing. You know,
John, I was going to ask you what luxury means anymore, right? And
yeah. It's
maybe that's it.
No, 100%. It's really drifting away from the thing, you know, because like it's so it's not. It's like people, you know, people have said for forever. It's like, oh, it's never really, you can't take it with you, and it's never. It's not about that, and it doesn't fulfill that that dopamine hit, you know, eventually. But what does is connection with people, and really, and so we're seeing it certainly in the travel spaces that people are gravitating towards, and they have been for a while, more experiences and. Who are you going to meet? What kind of thing are you going to do? Yes. But now I'm seeing things like, how are you connected to the culture? You know, when we launched Dossier, our editor-in-chief said something that still stuck with me. It's like, we don't necessarily write about what we did. We write about how we feel, you know? So when you go to a place, instead of asking like, oh, what'd you see? No, it's like, you know, how did you feel? You know, like what was that connection? Yes. Like, and how does it, you know, and you have to approach it from a place of vulnerability and approach it from a place of openness. And that's why I like to write on airplanes, like either on the way back or on like the next trip, because years ago, I would say it was like an NPR story, but like, you know, I don't know if do you guys cry on airplanes? Like I'll hear like Racing in the Street from Bruce Springsteen. I'll hear watch a rom-com or hear a song, and I am like weeping in like 23B, you know? And it's like, and somebody,
it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. And people have unpacked that. The story, I want to say it was NPR. They've unpacked it, and it's a combination. You're either going to see someone you love, or you're leaving someone you love. You're leaving home, or you're going back. You know,
like
you
emotions are heightened anyway.
Emotions are heightened anyway. Plus, you're in a place of you know, high altitude that's not pressurized like you normally be. Right? You know, you're sort of confined.
Your oxygen levels are off a little bit anyway.
Yeah, you're in a place of vulnerability. Yeah, no, it's like a CIA black site stress position for like, you know, it's like you'll tell them anything you want. You're completely
you're
vulnerable.
Upside down. No, John, that doesn't happen to everybody on every flight. Well, no, but that's really interesting. So my husband's a flight attendant, and he's been doing it for 24 years. And the other day he was thinking about that. He's like, you know, it's a job for me, and obviously it's routine on and off the airplane. But when you stop and think about the people that the flight crews are shuttling, he's like, it's related to a lot of big life moments. Like you said, like they're going to see someone maybe for the last time. They're going to meet a new baby. They're going on the vacation of a lifetime, a honeymoon. It is tied to so many big life things that we all take, you know, we don't really take the time to stop and think about, but they're pretty momentous.
Yeah. So I've found that like, if I can start a story or at least like take some notes, like during that time, it's a place where I'm much more real. You know, it hasn't gone through like a filter or anything. It's like, oh, here's how we really feel about a place. So that's
how you tap into it. That's your process.
I think so. Yeah, it's just sort of get yourself in that place where it's like, oh, what does the place really feel like, or what was like real on it, you know? And I think like a little bit of age helps. Like I don't have to be cool anymore. You know, like I can be like, you get to a point in your life where you're like, yep, this is who I am. There you go.
Take it or leave it.
It's a beautiful feeling of freedom, right? It's like, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Let me tell you what I really think.
Yeah. I release myself from all these like, no, but I got to look cool. Like, nope.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you said though, because I find it fascinating that luxury is how did you phrase it?
Connection,
Luxury
absolutely.
is now human connection. And that is really a wild thought, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That is...
With a place, with a property, with a,
Yeah.
like what does this unlock? How does this experience, this hotel, this destination, this car, whatever it is, like how does it unlock? How does it unlock that in me? I think in our world, in the car world, I say this a lot, is that I truly believe that the automobile, that driving, is the perfect pace with which to see the world. You know what I mean? Like you can stop and you can go experience, and you get back in and then keep going. You know, it's there's such a beauty to that. You know, there's such a romance to the road trip. You know, that I think it's I've had just some fantastic experiences. So it's fun to like come up with these ideas and then be like, hey, how about I write about this? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Like we before we were Dacia, we made the magazine for American Express. We made a magazine called Departures, which is for Amex Platinum Card members. Yeah, same team. So one of our maybe one of my first stories there, I was like, you know, there's so many misconceptions about the Michelin Guide, you know, the restaurant guide. You know, there's some people are like, nobody knows. Like, oh, is it just like a brother that started this restaurant thing? Is it just a money investment? It's like, no. That was a book from a tire company to get you out driving. And through that process, you would burn through tires and buy more tire. Like that was exactly what it was, right?
There's no like, oh, how funny they both have the same name. Like, no.
Go drive, burn through tires, buy more tires.
We need you to consume our product, and here's how we're going to help you do that.
So
100%.
elegant, really. You know?
Totally, right?
And
so I was like, oh, let's unpack that. And so I did a trip from we started Southern California, ended up in Healdsburg up north, and it was like just stop in Michelin rated places. And I think what a lot of people didn't understand at the time, and hopefully they do now, is that it's not all 12-course chef tasting menus. Like you've got now barbecue joints and taco carts and everything that's listed in the guide. You know, you can really have, it's a much more holistic, kind of wide ranging, you know, travel guide. So, it was like the fried chicken sandwich at Son of a Gun in LA, which is just, and then, up through, you know, Santa Barbara, Los Olivos, was a place called Maddie's Tavern, you know, and then you keep going out, and Sorrel had opened in San Francisco, and like you know, so it's like in stopping in all these places and talking with the chefs. And I was with a photographer, and you know, just stopping and having these experiences, and ending up in Healdsburg at Single Thread, you know, which is a 3-star place. And again, it's like the people you meet, right? So, so I stop and I'm talking with Chef Kyle, and you know, he's an Audi guy, and like we're talking about cars, and he said, no, I saw the car. Oh, and I did it in the Ferrari Roma, which is I think I wrote, it's a car I can crush on. Like the emotions I had in the Roma, it was like a crush feeling. It wasn't like, oh, I love this car so much, but it was like it was really like inside, like, oh, I like really like have a crush on this car. Like it was really similar experience, similar emotions. In fact, so much so that I think it was the night in San Francisco. I sprung it out of the valet and like went like ripping around at nighttime to find some takeout Chinese, you know, that was also in the guide, you know? And so it was like, I just want to like drive this. I would spend more time with this
You're
car,
like, it's you and me, baby, literally.
It was everything. I just felt like it was like the playful, like little sibling, you know, to some of the more serious Ferraris, but like it was everything I wanted. Like it was, and I did, well, how far is that? Hundreds and hundreds of miles. Like I was totally fine. Like getting in and out, like it was not painful. It was, you know, you could do
old
hours
man
and hours
noises or anything like that.
No, totally fine. Yeah. But I like unpacking things like that. You know, people what they think they know about, but like, oh no, here's the real story, and here's why it's beautiful. And then I think the guide is as relevant as it's ever been, you know. And now with the hotel component to it, to the keys and everything, like, yeah, there's a lot there. It really helps to be in a Ferrari too, which is
that certainly sweetens the trip. But yeah, I didn't realize that it's not just sort of like what we typically think of as a Michelin star restaurant. And so for it to be so approachable, it's like you think about the adventures that would unlock is amazing. And then
you can even do one where it's like, hey, let's do like the low end stuff. Like let's get like just the, you know, like the barbecue joints and taco places.
No, I think that's important to add, because human connection, but also we're all yearning for adventure. Right? We just don't get that anymore. Right? You know, we all live such safe lives, you know.
I know.
John, I wanted to ask you, you know, you drive everything, and we talk about, you know, everything's fast, everything's capable, everything's got the same tech anymore. How are you seeing different manufacturers, I guess, distinguish their cars in 2026?
When
is it the story?
when the baseline is
when the baseline's so good,
is generally so good, right? Yeah. Hopefully sometimes you can see, I don't know if you all agree, but you can sort of feel the brand character kind of come out in materials and workmanship and design choices and things like that, right? Like you can get in a car that feels like, oh, like you're in a Continental, like, oh, this feels like a Bentley, which feels very different than a Lamborghini or whatever.
That's a good point. Yeah, the textiles even indicate to you that you're in a different thing.
And I don't think that's a given. I think like that has to be a conscious decision from the design teams, right? Who are like, no, this needs to drive like a Ferrari, or this needs to feel like a Rolls Royce. Like absolutely, you have that, from supercar to supercar. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Ryan. Like there is like sort of the tributaries are coming into the river, right? And it's like, yeah, definitely. So I think you have to maintain character. I did a story for our last print issue. I went down to Ferrari, to Maranello, and met with their vehicle dynamics engineer, and then Raphael, their test driver. And I wanted to unpack that, like, how do you guys work together? You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me about the specs. Don't tell me the things, like, what is your personal relationship to one another? Like, how does it work back and forth? It's like, test driver, he wants to, like, oh, it's got to be like this. And then he comes back, to the engineer, and it's like, well, how do we tweak that? And how do you do it in a digital age where there are by wire, drive by wire, pedal by wire and braking by wire and those kind of things? Like, how can you do that? And what was interesting was, like, to understand that, like, it's about setting baselines. Like, he can, because it's digital, he can set a baseline where he knows it's going to be good, and then everything else is just just making it better from good. But it was like, once you get them, and there's a little bit of a language barrier, but like once you get them talking, once you really connect, it's like, oh no, we have like animal noise codes for like different things. And we're like, I'm like, all right, that's what I want to talk about, guys. Like, there we go.
Like, now we're where I needed to be. Yes.
Yeah. It's like a bird of the north kind of sound that's coming out of this. Like, it is, yeah.
But isn't that interesting that, like, great cars of the past were sort of happy accidents, right?
Ooh.
And now that's all engineered in, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny.
I've been thinking a lot about, sort of like, I know that people talk about, the modern cars versus I mean, like, as far as cars for me to own, like, I love older cars. I feel like, the 993 is much more suited to my, like, quite frankly, like, my abilities. Like, I am not going to drive like a new supercar at its limits. Like, I'm just not yet that kind of a driver. You know what I mean? But I can get this pretty darn close on a public road, that's still safe. And it's like, I get the same feeling. I get exactly the same feeling. I guarantee you that. What's totally unlocked for me, like last week, is that my daughter is just got her permit. And so we were thinking, like, first cars, right? Which is a whole nother conversation that
I know. I would love to hear, because I was thinking, like, Ryan and I are not that far behind you to have a new driver in the house. And I'm like, what? Yeah. What's that?
And it was not intentional. It's not like, dude, permit car right away. But it was like, you guys know, you guys have bought plenty of cars. It's like, you find the right one, and then you're like, I could wait and find a less right one, or like the right car at the right time at the right thing. Like how you don't have a crystal ball, right? So found a 2014 GTI Mark 6. 2013 Mark 6 GTI.
That's a great first car.
I hadn't been in a GTI in probably 20 years. I get behind the wheel. I put a set of PS4S Michelin's on it. I get behind this wheel, guys, like, and I'm like, oh, they got this right. I mean, I was like, for bang for your buck, it was like 13 grand, and I'm like, wow. Dude,
yes, please.
Please. I was like, wow. And for she can't, I still get to drive it until she actually has her license. So, and I'm like, good for me, guys. Like, it's just, they're really, they're joyful cars. Again, like, because it's light. What's 3,000 pounds or something? I think when people, and like, going back to the, sort of writing about cars for non-car people, when I ask them, almost everybody has like, oh, that's that fun car I had when I was young, or that was that fun car I had in college. You could almost always equate that to weight. It was all, oftentimes it was under, I bet it was under 3,000 pounds, and like, and that's why it feels fun, cause you're not hauling around.
You're not lumbering, and I love a truck and an SUV probably more than the average person, but it's a different feeling. Mm-hmm. It's a very different physical experience. Like, and I'm always reminded of that when I'm in something, not my truck, for a period of time, and then I get back in. It always catches my attention. Like, I'm so surprised how physically aware I am of the size and weight of the truck.
Yep.
I'm like, oh yeah, we are making a conscious decision to go down the road, as opposed to like just gliding.
We were making a conscious decision to go down the road. I love that.
We are collectively all of the parts. Yeah.
I totally, I still, like, honestly, it's weird. Like, we so take it for granted just in society in general. Like, I still feel the novelty of motion. Like, I still feel like, oh, cool, I'm driving around. You know, like you get going, like, oh, this is like, it's like, you know, it's still sort of fun. Like, I my wife hates it. I got a motorcycle not too long ago. Whole nother conversation.
That, John?
Yeah. Oh God. Oh,
He's like,
man.
I didn't tell her until it was in the garage.
Yeah. Lindsay. Yeah, it was pretty much, yeah. We're working through it.
Right.
But it's those
She's
things
very
like when
cool.
you feel like she's pretty cool. Yeah. Everyone has their limits though, Lindsay. But when you're out in the world, right, it's like, oh, I'm moving, you know, and I see the world going by, and it's I don't know, I don't want to get too philosophical, but whatever. But it's like, but I really do still feel that novelty of motion, and I think it's still a wonder, you know. And to drive all these cars, like we were talking before, like, and each one moves a little bit differently, you know, old ones and new ones and big ones and small ones, and it's just like, I don't know. I just try to, man, you know, I just really try to see the world like through like childlike eyes as much as I can, because again, like I don't have to be cool, you know. It's like I could just try to like really open myself up and be like, oh, what's special about this experience, you know?
So that's the secret.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
Cool.
I'm not, you know, like it's what I do. So it was okay for me.
50 years of trying to be cool. And we just need to strip that away, right?
Turns out 6 months ago, boom.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm learning a lot today.
This is your philosophy lesson, and you know, musings and meditations, but I think you make a really good point, because I was thinking about, like, I remember when I first got my license, and I couldn't have articulated it at the time, but when I look back on like getting to be able to drive by myself, being able to drive, period. I mean, I was ready to get my license when I was 12. So, you know, 16 could not come soon enough. And when it finally did, and I think back to that time and that feeling, and it was freedom. It was like, oh, but so it goes back to like, what's the feeling? And I think the fact that you are like bringing non-car people into the car world or sharing that experience with them, I love that, because we always say like the beautiful thing about the car world is there's a place for literally everybody. There's an enthusiast for every car, and vice versa. You know, and I think if you can retain a little bit of the magic of when you first got your license, which I think the fact that we all love to drive for fun, we've all hung on to it a little bit.
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
It's a real gift, and it's such a joy for all of us.
Totally. Maybe you guys would be interested in this if you're ever with the family overseas. Her driving instructor's like, well, have you driven before? And I was like, be careful, because like I will take her out, you know, when she was younger. But she did get to drive in at Land Rover headquarters in Solihull. So they've got a program called the Young Off-Roader Program. And Land Rover will let children as young as 11 years old drive freaking cars. Yes. Like through their like off-road course, right? Which is like, it's a basic off-road course, but for people who have done it at none, it's challenging. Like you're on 3 wheels and you do the climbs, you do the whole thing. And it's like wildly, it's just wonderful. So she's there. It's right-hand drive, right? So instructors here, and there's like an extra little brake pedal just in case, you know. And she's like creeping through like the woods in Solihull, England, you know, with this like, you know, nerves of steel instructor, you know. And I'm in the back seat, like, oh, don't smash up the Range Rover Velar that you're driving, you know. But she got out, like what y'all were just saying, like she got out, and I looked at the elation on her face. You know, and you get out and they do these big, you know, these like sort of tip over ramps and stuff. And it was fun for me in the back seat, right? So for her to have those kind of feelings, right? And those sensory experiences, like, oh, I am in control of this thing, not on the street. I mean, her experience in cars had been back and forth to school, you know, and now she's driving herself through the woods, you know, and it's a different, right? It's like anybody's like first off-road experience or ice driving experience, where it's like, oh, this doesn't behave the way it does on Melrose Avenue, you know?
Well,
and those are the kind of things.
Accomplishment of when you, like you said, when you get out of the car and you're like, I just did that in a car. This is unbelievable.
Well,
like
you've got a Land Rover fan for life now.
Oh, right. I know that's probably why they do it. I mean, it's absolutely why they do it. They won't do it. I don't think they do it as 11 years old in the States. I don't know, probably some kind of legal
why
thing.
Not? I mean,
why not? Like you're with it. I mean, as long as you could reach the pedals, like you know.
I mean.
Well, I mean, I think Ryan, obviously, we have to take our girls to England. That's what I'm taking away from this.
I love it.
man.
I love it.
Yeah, we try to get every once in a while I get a good +1. +1 for her, for the fam, or those kind of things. So it's always nice. Yeah.
You may not need to be cool, but definitely got the coolest dad award for that.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
So the coolest guy in the world says the secret is to not be cool, right? I love this. And you
That's
mentioned
the trick. He's like,
that's
are
right.
they going to pick up on? He's like, but I don't know if they know how cool I really am.
Well, amongst the other, 1,000 cool things, that were part of your intro, one of the things I am just fascinated about is this secret White House vinyl collection. And I guess we should probably preface this a little bit because you have a connection to the White House that, and I sure don't. I don't think Lindsay does. Can you talk about this a little bit? And
Sure.
I want to know what's in this secret collection.
Yeah, I mean, first, just like briefly, it's not typically something I lead with, but I'm a grandson of former President Jimmy Carter. But I should preface it by saying, like, it actually didn't. I got one email address from that. It was not like, hey, call up the White House and just like they throw open the doors. Like, so what happened was, we did every year. My grandparents would take us on these family trips, right? And I want to also like curb expectations here because like this is not like Kennebunkport or like fancy Texas. This is like oftentimes like fishing trips in like sort of Central Florida or like swamp, like walking through swamps and things like that. Like we do Disney. Some were awesome. Like there have been some that were like we get an invite to like the Dominican Republic and we're like, dude, that was awesome. But you never knew what you were getting.
Right.
So you'd always say yes. Just always say yes because you never know. And that was something. I mean, I've like been on like nuclear submarines when I just said, just get in the van. It's like Henry Rollins, like just get in the van. You never know what it's going to be like.
Amazing.
Well, and I love that they I think that's like they've definitely made a point to like furnish or further the family relationships and like make a point of spending time together.
100%.
That's
100%.
not easy to do, especially as people grow up and have kids. And so the fact that they prioritize that is really beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And it was wonderful to find out over a year, like what everybody's doing or whatever. So one night, like after dinner, I'm talking with my Uncle Jeff and he was talking about having a party in the White House. Right. And he's like, man, I'm up there and there's like upstairs is like the residence. Right. And there's bedrooms and stuff up there. And there's like a solarium, which is like a big sort of family room where a lot of people would hang out. And he's like, I got my friends up there, we're smoking and we're blasting the Stones. Like downstairs, like there's like some state dinner or something going on downstairs. But he and his buddies, there's a separate access to get up there. And he and his buddies are hanging out up there. And all of a sudden, like they don't hear the knock at the door. And he's like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rolling Stones. They've got a song that on the album is called Star Star. The chorus is not. It is a profanity. Are we swearing? No?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The chorus is Mick Jagger repeating "Star fucker, star fucker, star" over and over again.
Yeah.
Door opens up and he goes, and it's Mom and Mrs. Mondale walk in, just as Mick Jagger is like belting out that chorus, right? And I'm like, Jeff, what happened? And he's like, man, they didn't stay very long. And I'm like, all right. So then I asked him, like, well, where'd you get these records? He's like, well, like if something was new, you could just ask somebody that would go out and get it for you. But there was records there. And I was like, what do you mean there are records there? He's like, yeah, I remember like a shelf with a bunch of records. And I'm like,
yeah.
And as like a lifelong music fan, I'm like, what are you talking about? So I start doing a little bit of digging and they had published like 2 like reference books of like a catalog. So what happened was there's a book library, a fantastic book library up there. And the Recording Academy, which is like a lobbying group for the recording industry, was like, if you guys got books, you should also have records, right? So like, let's put together a panel of like the best and brightest minds and like music producers and journalists and composers to curate a record collection for the White House. Great. This is the tail end of like Nixon's administration, right?
Okay.
When you look at that first edition, it's sort of reflective of Nixon. It's like, I mean, Don Ho, big band. It's like really, that's what you get. There's
that's amazing though. It's like it's such a time capsule.
Nixon.
There's like one like Dylan compilation. Like by that time, the Beatles had done their entire catalog. You know what I mean? And it's like there's not a lot. Like, nope. It's really, yeah. So so that's edition 1, right? And then when my grandpa took office, they came back like, oh, now we've got somebody who really likes music. And because like he was the first president, my grandpa was the first president to sort of activate the young vote through music, to have like the Allman Brothers Band and Willie Nelson, all these people come and like play shows.
Yeah.
That never happened before. That was not, it was the music and politics were separate.
Right.
So he's the one that kicked that off.
So they're
That's
like,
so
yeah.
interesting.
So yes. So they get a new group of curators together, and now it's, you know, a bunch of country stuff. There's like Southern rock. There's the Cars. There's the first Clash record is in there. Ramones' Rocket to Russia is in there. Elton John. I mean, it's like, it is incredible. And these are all like copies, like as if you'd walked into a record store in like 1978. Like these apps, and they're all in these like sort of vinyl binders that hold maybe like 7 records, embossed with the presidential seal and like gold foil. It says like the White House Record Library.
How cool is that?
So I tracked this down. I hear about this. I'm like, I called one person at my grandpa's library. He's like, maybe this email, and then just pounded the pavement. I'm like, no. Like I get the email. I find out who the curator is. I call them. They're like, no. They're like, we'll call you back. And I'm like, fine. And I thought that was going to be it. Like 3 days later, I get an email. It's like, yeah, turns out we have a record collection. It's in a secure, undisclosed storage facility. So in my head, it's like the last scene in Raiders. A lot of 80s references, you know, but he's like wheeling the thing. It's like like the Ark and like the UFO parts and like this record collection, right? And so I'm like, well, let me come see it. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, let me come see it. It's a people's house, right? And they're like, yeah,
like,
we'll
I'm
get
inviting
that.
myself
Like,
over.
yeah,
My mom said
like,
it's okay.
and like, oh, okay. And they're like, all right. And so it was like around like the holidays. So like it's like the way I'd always experienced the White, it's a government building. Like people go to work there. Like before they had redid like the press room and all that stuff. Like it was kind of like linoleum floor and kind of like modest, you know? Yeah. People went to work, you know? And so they're like, where are we going to do it? I don't know. Like, it's like, so people were kind of gone like on vacation and stuff. This is during Obama's administration. And like, well, we could move it into the tea room, but I think that was getting decorated. So I get emails like, all right, we're going to put it down in the movie theater in the East Wing. So in the East Wing, there's a movie theater and there's like the bowling alley and stuff. You may have heard about that stuff. Yeah. So I walk in there and I brought like 2 of the curators that were still, most everybody's dead, but the 2 curators that were still alive, and walk down there, and it's like a tiny like little movie theater, and then there they are. They're in cardboard moving boxes, you know, like couple thousand records just stacked.
No
right?
pretense. I love it.
Nope. And so, you know, there's that phrase like permission, forgive, better to ask permission than forgiveness than permission. I got all these records here, right? I'm like, man, I should probably bring a record player, right? So like when I call up like a hi-fi like turntable dealer in DC. I'm like, you got something I could borrow? So he's like, yeah, man. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Like, no reason.
So I get like a turntable and like some speakers and stuff and put in my like rollaway and just like carry it through security. And like, I mean, it's not day, it's a record player, you know? Right. And so I'm like, set up the record player and the things. Like no one had ever played these before. So what happened, like by the time during my grandpa's sort of edition of this, by the time they curated it was like 1980. They were delivered days before the Reagans moved in. So these never got installed. These were like just, you know, sort of not even presented formally. It was like, they were just like, here you go, I guess. And then
like,
the Reagans didn't want them. Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet not.
Yeah, totally. So it's so you can redecorate when you take off. You can redecorate. And so like I don't know if like Nancy didn't want them or whatever. And so they've been in storage. So I'm the first person to ever play these things. So we're dusting these off with these guys and dropping the needle on like the first Clash record and Astral Weeks and like you know Who's Next and I mean it was absolutely incredible afternoon, right? And yeah, so like a tiny little sliver of like American history, like a very niche kind of like expertise in that kind of, you know, obviously, you know, big ocean of stuff. But it was like, I remember the curator came down and she was like, you done? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like there's like records everywhere. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I'm like, I guess. And like, so these guys in overalls came and put them all back, and I guess they took them away. So like I would love to, you know, like I wrote about that for like White House History Quarterly and NPR and a couple other things, and I would like, so that's 1980, right? So there's nothing after that in this official White House record library. So no electronic music, no hip hop or rap, no boy bands, no Madonna or electronic music, anything else that's
any
happened.
of the icons. Like,
oh my gosh, you think about all the stuff that's happened. And again, like, it's not about the access. Of course, you can get anything on your phone, but like it's about sort of that curation of like, oh, what's really important, you know, and what kind of like music can act as a communicator, right? It could be a message from the people to the people in power, you know? I mean, like, how could you do it? How could you do that? How could you update it now without NWA, you know? And like these without Rage Against the Machine, with all this stuff, like you'd have to, you would absolutely have to.
That's
right?
in my notes. I said, what surprised you most? Was there any NWA in the collection? But obviously this ended in 1980, but we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I mean, that first Clash record, I think, starts with "I'm So Bored with the USA," right? So like, what an interesting like message that we could send to the people, you know, who were there. You know,
how curated was that stuff that got sent over to the White House, you think?
Oh, incredibly! Everything was. They would meet. They would meet monthly in New York, and hash it out. And you could make a thing, and then you could make a case for it. And they would, because you can't just put everything in there, like especially back then with physical media, right?
Yeah.
And so they would have to like.
Space.
Yeah. So they'd have to make their case, you know. So there's
subversive. I love it.
Totally. And then there's like spoken word and comedy albums. Like it's everything. It's there's like plays and stuff in there too. So in classical,
like
and
Richard Pryor records and that kind of stuff.
Is there Richard Pryor? I should look and get back to you. So I have the the 2 printed copies. And see. When was that? I guess that was 70s.
That would have been
right?
pre-80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it might have been. Wow.
So many years ago.
Wow. Could you imagine? Like, oh, here you go. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been definitely an unusual life, but yeah, it's funny. There was one of the last things that we talked about was he would go to Sebring. They would go watch the races, drive up from Georgia or drive down to Florida and watch the races. And he would
Jimmy
talk
Carter
about,
was a car guy?
Well, let's just say, I mean, like he would watch, we watch the races at Sebring and be super into it. Yeah, he would take the boys down and they would go to races and they would watch the endurance races at Sebring and
that's cool.
And be able to tell like what engine was what. They used to have those albums that they would sell back then of like the sounds of Sebring.
Yes.
The sounds of Sebring.
I have one and it's it was my husband's, but it's from Le Mans in I think 66. And it's the literal recording of the sounds of the race.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
we didn't have Netflix back then, guy. Like you just put on the things like let's listen to it.
This was
we had personal connection, we had adventure,
Yeah. It was the original rerun. Like if you missed the race, you put the record on.
Let's do it.
And go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Well, obviously we've only barely scratched the surface. So we'd love to have you come back and we can continue to listen to all your stories. But what is next for you? Because you always have new adventures, on the docket. So what's coming up for you?
Tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning, it's Wheels Up for an owner's drive. I'm not an owner, but I'm joining an owner's drive with the Ineos Grenadier up in Moab. Cool. So I have not been to Moab yet, and I'm looking forward to that. Again, like looking forward to meeting the owners, and seeing like why are they here and like what do they do and who's new and who's experienced and how does this work? And I mean, such a beautiful setting. So I'm so looking forward to that.
Well, you're right. Like, who is the Ineos Grenadier owner?
I'm curious. And I've never driven one before. I see him in the school drop-off line, but I've never been behind the wheel yet. So I'm looking forward to that.
Just saw they just named Gabrielle Reese and Laird Hamilton as Ineos Grenadier or as Ineos ambassadors. So you'll have to see maybe if they're there.
Okay, well, I'll let you know. Okay,
they were saying they were owners, so they qualify.
Yeah. There you go. After that, I've got a sailing race in Bermuda. Going to check that out. And then I got an invite to Monaco. So
Excellent.
That's going to be pretty incredible.
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
total
excited.
bucket list.
Yeah, it's a total bucket list, and it's the long way. So it's with we're taking a boat, taking a ship. From like on the west coast of Italy, stopping like through Corsica and then ending in Monaco and then on to Barcelona and leaving from there with Silver Sea. So it's I know.
I mean, it
Are
sounds awful.
you sore from having to pinch yourself?
It's insane. It was one of those plus ones where my wife had to work. It's like 11 days, and my wife's like, I can't do 11 days. My daughter's like,
yeah,
I'm off of school.
Listen, I will take one for the family team. And
I love it.
Happy to
Life is good. Life is good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to come back and fill us in on. I mean, even just those three, I feel like could be another full show.
Yeah, please do come back. I feel.
Yeah.
No pun intended, just scratching the surface.
You guys, it's so much fun. And I hope we can hang out when you guys are in Los Angeles or something.
Love to.
I know,
meet
hang
up
out
on the
for real,
crest
right?
and go do all the car week or something. You guys going to car week?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're always there. So
There we go.
Yeah.
I know it hit
I
me
look
the other
forward
day
to
that
it.
like that's going to be here before we know it.
It is, right? It's one of those things where I feel like every time I'm driving, I almost always drive, and then every time I'm coming home, like I would make a U-turn and go right back and do it all over again. Like it's
Same.
such a magical
Yeah.
experience.
Well,
And
that's
again, it's the people you run into and like big hugs and like, it's just yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, because it is, I mean, we talk about that because we're all in different cities. Like all of us being in the same place at the same time is rare if, ever.
Yeah.
And so to have, like, in a lot of ways, it's all of your friends in the same place for a week. That's pretty remarkable. And then you also get to see these incredible cars and have these amazing experiences. It's, we all say every year, we're like, well, that was life-changing. And then the next year, it's the same thing. Like, it's even more life-changing, and it just keeps building.
Yeah,
No.
it really is. And it feels like summer camp. You're right. It's
That's exactly. That's
yeah,
exactly.
it's like, oh, here we are again.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
We should
Feels
do
like we're
songs.
living.
We should do like songs and s'mores this year and figure that out.
Right.
Maybe
we
one
have
of the
the fire
sand
pits
traps and the
already.
quail. Yeah, see?
And it sounds like you know how to get a record player that's portable. So I think we have two of the ingredients already sorted that will make it happen. And I feel like at the lodge, if you just went in and you're like, hey, we just need s'mores stuff, it would magically appear outside before too long.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's our side mission for this year is s'mores at the fire pits.
Yep.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So on that note, tell people where they can find you on social media.
On social media, what's my Instagram? It's just my name. It's just like at john.chuldenko.
There you go.
Yeah. And then the magazine is Dossier Magazine. Yeah.
And is there a website too for Dossier?
DossierMagazine.com. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been so much fun. It has flown by, which is always a good
Yes.
sign. But we really appreciate you hanging out and sharing all your stories, and we hope you'll come back. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode. We really appreciate you being here and for liking, subscribing, and sharing the show with your enthusiast friends. Remember, always be driving. We're That Car Show, and we'll see you next week.